Hello, my beautiful lady, and welcome back to The Subconscious Expert. Today, we are diving into and exploring 5 very deep subconscious lessons that I see my clients learn and that I learnt as I was building my business to multi-6-figure years, going on to build to a 7-figure year this year. And actually, what was fascinating for me, and obviously I knew this firsthand because I did all of my subconscious training pre even beginning to build a business. You know, I did my NLP masters and my hypnotherapy masters before I even had a business, before I was even online. And what really stood out to me as I was starting to scale is just how much of my success was determined by my subconscious, which was constantly operating in the background, which was often working against me unless I became very intentional about it. And this is truly what I help every client that comes into my world with, is to be intentional with how you use your subconscious, how you show up to your subconscious mind, and how you make your subconscious work with you rather than against you. And here's the good news on this podcast is that we can retrain your brain to support your goals. And today we're diving into these 5 lessons that I really started to highlight the lessons to me as I was building the business, and I see this shining out with my clients when I'm working with them too. And not only are we going to go into the lessons, but I'm going to go deeper into the practical tools. We're going to have a little look at some neuroscience-based strategies that are going to help you move through these blocks and really unlock your next level. I have so many incredible female entrepreneurs message me, and I speak to them in the DMs all the time about being blocked from this next level. And I really think these 5 come very, very close to you reaching that next level, because these are the ones that I see come up so often. So lesson number 1, something that I am a little bit of a parrot about at the moment. I keep repeating myself on this, but lesson number 1 for me, and I saw this mostly with my clients, was the fear of success can be just as paralyzing as the fear of failure. And fear of success I see sneak up on my clients when they least expect it, because their conscious mind, consciously, they are so ready for the next level. Like unbelievably ready for the next level. They know what it looks like, they know what it feels like, they know what they want it to be and who they want to be in that next level. They have a strategy that they know will take them to that next level, but their subconscious keeps pulling the brakes. They keep putting their foot down on that brake pedal, and it keeps stalling their growth. And this is why I get a lot of people come to me feeling quite stagnant, feeling quite stuck on the same level, whether that's the same followers, whether that's the same money in the bank account, whether that's the same revenue that they hit per month. And I'm going to tell you why, even though I've told you why several times in many, many podcasts, which I'll link all of the Fear of Success podcasts that I've spoke about in the show notes. But it's because your brain is viewing the unknown as a potential threat. And guess what? Success, even though it sounds incredible and positive and amazing, it is full of unknowns, more visibility, more responsibility, more potential judgment. You know how much I've spoke about this before, and if you haven't listened to any of the podcasts, like I said, they'll be in the show notes so you can jump in. Now, with this, with the view of your success, and whether it's responsibility or more visibility or more judgment or having to hold more money, hold more clients, whatever it is that comes up for you when it comes to the fear of success, what's actually happening is your amygdala, which is the part of your brain which is the fear response, the fight or flight response, it's where we feel all the emotions, it actually goes into overdrive. And its job is to protect you from these perceived risks, which a lot of the time the protection comes from procrastination, from self-sabotage, from not putting things out there, from holding on to ideas, all of the things that I've spoke about before. And actually what we want to do and how we want to move through it is start to create the safety around your success. Because a lot of the time, and I do see people with both fear of failure and fear of success, but a lot of the women that I work with and a lot of people who are in my world, it is the fear of success that holds them back, even though, like I said, consciously, you're like, nah, like I am a high achiever, this is what I want, this is what I see for my life, this is what I see for my business. But if you're currently not doing the actions or taking, if the behaviors aren't speaking to that, it's because something feels subconsciously unsafe. So how are we going to move through the fear of success? The first thing that I actually really want you to do is to visualize your future success with real, strong, positive emotions. Now, when you're visualizing future success, I don't want you to focus just on what it looks like. So you might have a very, very clear image on what it physically looks like, or maybe what you're wearing or how you're walking. But for me, something that I always do with clients is really hone in on how it feels. Because when we look at the neuroscience behind this, neuroscience shows that pairing visualization, so that visualization of your future, when we pair that with positive emotions, those emotions that literally make you tear up. I had someone message me the other day who's in the subconscious membership, and she was like, Beck, I've just listened to that visualization and I cried the whole way through. Those are the sort of positive emotions we want to bring to this. What actually happens is it activates the brain's reward system. And when we activate the brain's reward system, what you're actually doing is signaling that this next level, this new level, this visualization that you're doing, that you want to move into, is something desirable. It's desirable and it's not dangerous. So the first thing I want you to do, if you are having that like sneaky suspicion that it might be fear of success that's currently stopping you from that next level, that's stopping you from reaching multi-6 figures, 7 figures, wherever you're, that next level for you right now, I want you to spend a few minutes, and it literally can be a few minutes each day, imagining yourself in your next level. But really not only imagining, but tapping into the feelings. So is it joy? Is it empowerment? Is it confidence? Is it happiness? What are the feelings that you can associate to that next level? And over time, what that's going to do, because the brain learns best from repetition, but this is going to train your brain to see success as safe. Because at the moment, what might be happening is when you're visualizing that picture of yours, you might have quite a lot of limiting beliefs coming up. But what if I don't get it? But what if this? But what if that? Am I going to be able to handle it? Man, that feels really stressful. I'm working hard already. How can I work even harder to get to there? And your brain is linking that success to danger. Danger, danger, danger. Retract. Self-sabotage, let's not go there. And I want you to train your brain to see that success as safe. How can you make your success feel as safe as possible? Because again, your subconscious doesn't care about your success. Your subconscious cares about your safety. So the more we can visualize with these positive emotions, the more I know I'm not a massive fan on the word positive emotions, but for the sake of this example, but the emotions that are really serving you, you can start to create a safety around it. The second thing that's going to really speak to that safety with this lesson of, the fear of success can be just as paralyzing as the fear of failure. What we want to do is we want to create safety in those really small increments. So what actually happens with the brain is it thrives best on predictability, which is why every time you do the same thing, come day in, come day out. That's definitely not the phrase. Day in, day out. And if you can create the predictability around the safety of your success, that is going to help you. So the first thing with this is I actually want you to break down those bigger goals that might feel quite juicy and chunky, and they might actually feel too far away for you right now. What I say to clients with this is I say chunk it down. We want to chunk it down into manageable steps. And each one, yes, is going to be a little stretch outside your comfort zone, but what we want to do is we actually want a bit of gradual exposure. Because when we gradually expose ourselves outside our comfort zone and not just like literally throw ourselves into the deep end, which sometimes this works, but when you're working towards like a bigger goal, with gradual exposure, what that's going to help do is really desensitize the fear centers of your brain. And when you're working towards something, and this is why I always push my clients to do those little tasks, because a lot of the time the biggest breakthroughs usually don't come from the big aha moments. The bigger breakthroughs come from those tiny little action steps that they take day to day, because that gradual exposure is helping them really desensitize the fear centers of your brain. And what that's going to do is it's going to make success feel way more achievable. And if you can slowly build up, your brain is going to acclimatize to that. And that's what we want. We want to get your subconscious feeling safe. And if you can acclimatize your brain, the same as you acclimatize your body if you are cold, if you can do that with your brain, you are going to feel safer in doing those small actions. This is why intentionality in your business is so important, because it goes down to those smaller, manageable steps. So I really want you to create safety in those small increments. Take that bigger goal, start to chunk it down. What has to happen for this to happen? What has to happen for this to happen? What has to happen for this to happen? And then start to just manageable little steps. Oh, look at me doing this tiny step. I'm so safe doing it. You're going to build and build and build, and your brain is going to acclimatize. And then the last one that you can do, just more of a kind of affirmation-y type product, I was going to say that, affirmation-y type exercise, is really embed the fact that you are safe, or that you're learning to be safe. Now, affirmations I don't tend to give unless we've done timeline therapy on them, but what I like to say to clients if we haven't done timeline therapy is use them as a stepping stone. So right now, an affirmation of I am safe to grow, that might feel quite unsafe right now. Your subconscious might not believe that. But an affirmation that you could be using, and this is where the safety dance comes in for me, and I've spoke about that a few times in a couple of podcasts. I have a little dance that I do when I'm doing something outside of my comfort zone, and I'm like, I'm safe, I'm doing the safety dance. And that's all I have to do. But when I was doing this to start off with, the affirmation that I was actually using is I'm learning to feel safe as I grow. I'm learning to feel safe. I'm learning that I'm worthy of success. I'm learning, and when we're in the learning phase, your brain loves learning. We are absolutely hardwired to learn, but if we use that as an affirmation, I'm learning to feel safe, I'm learning to feel worthy, I'm learning to understand that my success is going to happen. Over time, these affirmations are going to help rewire the neural pathways anyway. And when we do that, that's going to reduce the fear response that's triggered by your success. So those are your 3 little to-dos. when it comes to the fear of success, can be just as paralyzing as fear of failure, which is one of the biggest lessons that I've seen come up with clients as they're scaling to multi-six figures and beyond. So you're going to visualize with those better thinking emotions, those kind of positive emotions that really start to create the safety around your success. You're going to create safety in those small increments, and then rewire with the learning affirmations. I'm learning to feel safe. I'm learning to feel worthy. The next lesson that I see so often with my clients is your money story dictates your revenue. Yes. There's actually an advert at the moment for a bank, and I can't remember what bank it is, but all of the actors and actresses in this advert are kids being adults. And like these kids that are kind of quote unquote pretending to be adults, like going to the bank and trying to sort their money out. And it says in the advert, studies show that we take our biggest money beliefs on from the ages of when we're younger. And there you go. Like, if the adverts are saying it, we need to listen. And I've said this till the cows come home, but our subconscious beliefs about money are formed by the time we are 7 years old. And these beliefs are fully shaping your money blueprint. It's really dictating how you handle your finances, whether you allow yourself to reach certain income levels, whether you are checking your bank account or not. And your subconscious mind doesn't recognize the actual value of money, which is why you could look at 10,000 in front of you on a piece of paper, and if I put 10,000 miles on the end of it, that would feel very different to you than 10,000 pounds, right? It's exactly the same number, but they both have different energies and feelings behind them, because your subconscious mind doesn't recognize the actual value of money. That's why everyone says money is energy, because it doesn't recognize the actual value. What happens in your subconscious mind is it only follows the emotional associations. More importantly, the emotional associations that you have tied to it from your past. Let me say that again. Your subconscious mind doesn't recognize the actual value of money. It only follows the emotional associations you've tied to it, or other people have shown you to tie to it from your past. For instance, if you subconsciously believe that making a lot of money requires sacrificing your personal life or your relationships, or having to work harder, or that maybe having more money means that you're going to be lonely, your brain will create behaviors to ensure that you do not cross those financial thresholds. I see it time and time again. Maybe it's time to bring back some money podcasts. I haven't done any for a while. So how are we going to move through this? Couple of things. First thing, of course, we want to uncover the root beliefs. So with any money work that we do, I always start with memories or thoughts or feelings or associations that you can remember from childhood. If you want to do next level wealth, this is one of the subconscious breakthroughs that I have within Power Up. It's my 4-session subconscious reprogramming program. And the breakthroughs that people get from next level wealth, that session alone is incredible. So if you want a bit of extra support with this, I will drop Power Up link in the show notes, because really, when it comes to money, we have to be looking at those childhood memories, the childhood beliefs. So you can identify them by yourself, absolutely, and you can do work on it by yourself, but if you want to go deeper, that is there for you. But what I want you to do is I want you to have a look at those beliefs, and I want you to see how it's either serving you or how it's holding you back. Because like I said in the first point, the brain operates on that familiar. So you need to bring these thoughts to your conscious mind, your conscious awareness first, before we begin to change them. The second thing you're then going to do is reframe your money beliefs. Now, like I say, your brain is very highly adaptable. It can change at any given moment, thank the blessed Lord, to neuroplasticity, which means that we can change your money story. So if you've always believed that money is hard to come by, we can reframe it. We can look at the beliefs inside of that, and we can change that belief to money flows easily to me. And what we want to do with this, when you are changing these beliefs, and that goes back to the belief change that I was on about in the first point, which is I'm learning to feel that money flows easily. I'm open to feel that money flows easily, whatever you want to say there. The key with this is repetition. It's not a one in, one out, let me do one money belief blocker session, write all my affirmations down and then forget about them for the rest of my life. The key is repetition. And what neuroscience shows is that repeatedly thinking about a new belief is going to create new neural connections, which is going to help the belief stick. So don't just one and then bugger off. We have to keep repeating it. This is why I get my clients to have visual cues of their new beliefs. They have them on post-it notes, they have them alarms on their phones, they have them as their screensavers. So we have that repetition again and again and again. And then the last thing for lesson 2, your money story dictates your revenue. And if you have been stuck on a revenue for a while, or you haven't been able to hit that next level of revenue, I would say it's down to your money story. But what I want you to do is really start to really embody the abundance. This goes back to the feelings of what that would feel like. And when we take small actions that align with abundance, even before you've hit your revenue goals, when you're embodying the feelings and you're embodying the actions of someone who already earns at that level, you are signaling to your brain that this is your new normal. Again, creating the safety. Safety. So really start to have a think about, and this is this identity piece, this future self piece, this becoming her piece, all subconscious classrooms in the subconscious membership if you want any help there, but really start to pay attention to the feeling of gratitude, whether it's receiving big lumps or small lumps of money, or a free coffee, or you found 1p on the floor. It doesn't even have to be money sometimes. You know, I've done an abundance challenge within the membership where it was like, whenever you feel abundance from people, a smile, a hug, whatever that is, start to really tap into those feelings, because like I said at the beginning of this point, your subconscious mind doesn't recognize the actual value of money. So let's tap into abundance all together. Lesson number 3 is that your identity must evolve with your business. It is a huge one, because as you grow your business, the identity that got you to where you are right now, so the identity that got me to 6 figures, was not going to be the one that got me to multi-6 figures. What isn't going to be the one that gets me to 7 figures, because your subconscious mind gets so deeply attached to your current self-image. And that means the person who's really used to creating the habits and the actions and the thought patterns, it will get very, very used to that current self-image. Which means that to move to that next level, you are going to have to do the identity work around who that is in that next level. And the brain will be resistant to that because it's change. Even though consciously, again, we know it's positive change, it probably will slow your growth if you haven't sorted or really understood or got clear on the identity of that next level. Now, how can we move through it? First of all, I will always say this, get really, really clear on that future self. Now, this could be journaling, it could be visualization, whatever that is for you, but neuroscience really supports the power of mental rehearsal. So take time every day, if you can, to journal or visualize or think of, maybe even just have a piece of music that allows you to tap into the fact that you are already that next level version of yourself. Act as if, be as if. How does this version of me think? What decisions do they make? How are they showing up in their business? How do they show up to their finances? How do they show up for their health? What does their house look like? This is all the identity work that I do with my clients, because the practice strengthens those neural circuits. And what you want to do with that is create the association with this new identity, which is going to make it easier for you to step into that role. The reason why I am constantly growing and evolving is because I'm always moving and shifting my identity to where I'm going. The times that I've been stagnant is because I don't know what that identity looks like and I haven't tapped into it. So really make sure you're not just doing this on a whim and you're not just trying to hold on to the strategy. You've got the strategy that will take you to 7 figures, but are you being the person who is going to get there? And that's really, really important for you to have a look at. And with that, what that's going to bring in is these new habits. Now, the basal ganglia, which is part of the brain, another big word, but part of the brain responsible for habit formation, that part of the brain really thrives on routine. Routine, 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 familiar, familiar, familiar. I've said it again and again and again. Now, to step into your next level identity, I want you to, after you've done your future self journaling, and I've got a couple of podcast episodes on identity and future self, which I'll tag as well. But once you've kind of got really clear on what that looks like, start by adapting and adopting these small habits that reflect the action of your future self. You know how I talk about my Ugg slippers. That was one of the things that my 6-figure self had, and I went and brought the bloody Ugg slippers, and every time I put the Ugg slippers on, I was like, ooh, look at me in my 6-figure self. Maybe your next level self really prioritizes rest or scheduling or working in small time blocks. And the more you can step into those small habits, the brain is going to very quickly recognize this behavior as part of your new identity. It's really important that you bring these two together. Really, really important. So when you are evolving, when you want your business to evolve, you have to evolve your identity to come with you as well. Lesson number 4, consistency. I spoke about this in last week's podcast episode, but consistency is about more than willpower. And I spoke about this in last week's podcast episode, like I said, but if you are wondering why you can't seem to stick to that new routine, even when you know that it is so bloody crucial for your business, it's because willpower alone will never, ever, ever, ever be enough. Motivation will never, ever, ever, ever be enough. Because the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for decision making and discipline, gets fatigued. And the subconscious mind is resisting the change, which is keeping you back in the familiar patterns of safety. So you need to make sure that consistency happens without willpower and without motivation. It's really, really important. Here's a couple of things that's going to help you with consistency. First of all, and I see this so often, I want you to actually reduce and lower what we call the cognitive load of your brain. And what I mean by that is reducing the mental effort required to stick to your new habits. And what we do is we make them easier. So and I always use this example, how can I make going to the gym in the morning easier? Well, I can put my gym stuff out and ready. on the side. I could book the class that I know I'm going to go to. I could fill my water bottle up and put it in the fridge ready for me to grab it and go. I could get my keys ready on the side. Reduce the mental effort it's required to stick to those new habits, especially when you're bringing in what we said with the identity piece. If you're bringing in a lot of new habits, which I don't suggest for you to do, maybe 2, maximum 3 new habits at a time until you've really got it into your subconscious. But we want to know that you are pre-deciding when and where you'll take the action. So let's put it more into like the social media business world. Instead of saying, I'll post on social media every day, decide that every morning you will post after breakfast. Breakfast happens, which you know is going to happen every time. Habit stack, you're going to post that time. Now what that's doing is it's creating a mental shortcut, which is reducing your decision fatigue, which happens so often with business owners. I used to wake up and have decision fatigue by the time it reached freaking 7 a.m. to be honest. But it's all about the mental shortcuts, and we want to reduce the decision fatigue. Second thing with consistency is I want you to really focus on identity-based habits. Now, behavioral change works best when it's tied to identity, not outcomes. And this means that instead of focusing on the results, so I need to be consistent in my business, I want you to shift the focus to becoming the type of person who is consistent. I am someone who shows up daily for my business. And you're really attaching to that identity level. Now, this aligns with that neuroscience principle that identity and habits are really linked to the brain's habit loop, and that's what we want to do. I am someone who shows up daily for my business. I am someone who sells daily in my business. Really bring those habits into identity base, and that will come from the identity work that you've done in lesson 3. See how these all link? Yes, I'm not just a pretty face, but really making sure that the habits are not like, oh, well, Becky says I've got to be more consistent in my business, so therefore this is why I'm doing this. No. You are really tapping into the identity of that. And then lastly, for consistency, reward the brain. Reward your freaking brain, because your brain is wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. I've spoke about it so often in this podcast alone. Now, to make consistency easier, attach those immediate rewards to your actions. We want that reward circuit. So after completing a task, treat yourself to something small, like a walk or a nice coffee or having a dance or cleaning. If that's your reward, it's my reward. It's like a reward. But this trains your brain to really associate consistency with pleasure. And like I said in last week's podcast episode, consistency for me has been the key to my success, one of the biggest keys. So we want to really associate consistency with that pleasure. And then the last lesson for today is the stories you tell yourself are everything. I don't know how to say this enough, but the stories you tell yourself dictate your freaking reality. Because these stories are creating neural pathways in your brain, and the more you repeat the story, whether it's serving you or whether it's not fucking serving you, which I know that those stories are going around in your brain right now, the more you tell yourself those stories, the stronger the pathway becomes. And if you are telling yourself 100 times a day that you are not good enough, guess what? It becomes the well-trodden path, and your brain will reinforce that belief over and over and over and over and over and over again. Now, great, because if you can tell yourself that you're not good enough and make a well-trodden path with that belief, we can do some work where you can tell yourself that you are good enough and make a well-trodden path of that belief. And guess what? Your life will be better for it. So how are we going to move through this if you are currently really playing out those stories? The first thing and this is a subconscious classroom in the membership, is pattern interrupts. We want to pattern interrupt and stop the negative story in their tracks. So every time you catch yourself in a limiting thought, literally could be a physical action. I say to my clients sometimes, like, drop down on the floor and stand back up again, run up the stairs and run back down again. I used to have one where I click my fingers twice, I breathe in and I breathe out. And I literally breathe in and I bring my hands up, and I breathe out and I push my hands away. And that used to be my pattern interrupt to any negative story or pattern or belief that came up. I just went, and it disrupts the negative neural pathway. And what you're doing with that is you're creating an opportunity to introduce, a more empowering story. So whether it's a clap, whether it's whether you shake out, whether you shake your hands, whether you shake your feet, whether you scrunch your nose, whatever it is, you put on a piece of music, we want to break the state and we want to pattern interrupt. Really, really important. One of my favorite NLP techniques. It really is so powerful. I always use this, imagine if you're in this story that you're telling yourself that you're not good enough, and I ran into your house in a chicken outfit, you wouldn't be feeling I'm not good enough anymore. You'd be thinking, what the fuck is Becky doing in a chicken outfit, and why is she in my house? I have interrupted your pattern, and that's what we want to do, because the moment that we interrupt it, you create a new opportunity to introduce a more empowering story. Really, really important. And then the last thing for this is that daily story reinforcement. Again, I sound like a broken record, but your brain loves repetition, and you want to prime your brain each morning by writing down and, probably more importantly, speaking aloud stories that align with your desired outcome. For example, I am capable of building a 7-figure business. By repeating these new narratives, you are strengthening those new neural pathways. This is what we're doing. This is what I've spoke about the whole podcast, and making them your default story. Because when they become your default story, your subconscious is going to operate from them. And over time, your brain naturally takes action from those stories, the way that your brain is currently taking action from the stories that don't serve you, which is why you keep procrastinating. So you are always writing your story, whether you're conscious of it or whether you're not. And the more intentional you are with the stories that you tell yourself, the more aligned your reality will be with your goals. So let's recap. Number 1, fear of success can just be as paralyzing as the fear of failure. So create safety around the success by rewiring your brain with the positive visualizations, the incremental exposure to those bigger challenges. Number 2, your money story dictates your revenue. You want to identify and challenge any limiting beliefs around money. Remember all of the things that I've got to help you with that. Reframe those narratives and start to unlock your earning potential. Number 3, your identity must, in capital letters, evolve with your business. Really stepping into that next level identity, visualization, anchoring those new habits, really making sure that you are stepping into being as if you are moving into that next level. Number 4, consistency is damn more than willpower, and really making sure that you've got those identity-based habits, immediate rewards to make consistency effortless. And then lastly, your stories. The stories that you tell yourself are absolutely everything. Interrupt the patterns, replace them with a more empowering story, and start to create that new neural pathway. Look, I know I try and tell you every week, but your subconscious mind is so incredibly powerful in your business journey. And when you can learn to work with it rather than against it, your growth in your business will become so much easier. The blocks that you're currently having that feel like you will never get over them, you will never break through them, start to dissolve, and you step into a version of yourself that can handle the success that you are striving for. I'll say it and I'll say it again because I have so much evidence for myself, but so much evidence in every client that I've worked with as well. So if you found this episode helpful, I'd love for you to share it with another fellow entrepreneur who might be working through their own subconscious blocks, and I will see you on the next episode. Love you lots.